feels too heavy to be told. You think you're stranded on an island far from shore, with rising tides around your feet. You fought so long you can't remember what it's for, just a bitter taste of your defeat. Hey, just breathe. Don't say a word. I'm right here in the quiet that you've earned.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Phoenix, your host at Phoenix Talks, and here is where we find the truth. I just have to give you some housekeeping real quick, and then we'll get into the Lindsay Clancy case. Hello, Rebecca. Welcome to see you. Good to see you. Early afternoon, I should say. We are going to be talking about the Lindsay Clancy case, and it's going to be a little sensitive in here. And this stream, I just have to give you a fair warning, is probably going to be geared towards mainly women, men too, because we are going to be talking about some sensitive topics. But I just want to make sure we do share the copyright and fair use notice. And keep in mind, this stream, everything is the creator's own opinion. Do your own research and homework. But I just have to give you a warning that it may definitely discuss some topics. Now, drop a 1 if you have been following this case very closely, and I mean very closely, not just, yeah, I've watched a few here or there. How about, have you watched every single 13 days? So August the 13th was the 13th day of this trial, and they are going to resume on day 14 on Monday, because I'm just going to have to say here, I mean, we know what they've told us. We have to understand the reason why this case is going on right now. Okay. So Lindsay Clancy is on trial because she is accused of killing her 3 children in Duxbury, Massachusetts on January 24, 2023. She's charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder along with strangulation and assault charges. Now, this trial right now is basically because prosecutors allege she deliberately sent her husband out to pick up food and medication, then strangled her 5-year-old Cora, which we're going to get into Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan with exercise bands. Now, I know, Rebecca, if you have been watching this, this is intense, seeing this every single day, and subsequently attempted to take her own life, leaving her partially paralyzed. Here's the important point to this. This trial is not primarily whether Lindsay caused her children's death. Her defense already acknowledged that she did. The real question is whether she was legally responsible for her actions. See, the prosecution is saying that she was aware, she had knowledge, she was doing everyday functions. There was nothing wrong with her medically. But here's the defense is saying she was experiencing postpartum psychosis, much different than postpartum depression. Now, as women that have come into the nest, that's what I call the nest. And if you have never been to a live stream of mine, welcome in. The only thing I ask is that you don't harass others. Don't be a clown. Don't be a troll. But please be respectful of the topic and the other people that are here sharing their experience. And let me just put your comments on the screen. So I'm just going to summarize it. Day 1 through 13. This is to find out if she is legally responsible for the deaths of her children. Now, she's already given a statement that saying she is responsible. But everything that I am seeing that the defense put on and everything the prosecution is not addressing is basically making me humbly think something's not right here. If that's you, drop a 1. So here's what the jury has to decide. They have to decide if Lindsay Clancy was severely mentally ill and she committed intentional murder. Or was she so detached from reality that the law cannot hold her criminally responsible? But as this trial goes on, oh my God, what was going on in this house, especially with the 5-year-old Cora? Now, I know that 5, 6-year-olds, they could have, medical issues like UTIs. And we're going to be talking about some sensitive topics here. We definitely are. And we're going to review the first 13 days in 90 minutes. And this is going to be really impactful. And so day 14, Monday, you're going to be caught up to speed, at least what I think you're going to be caught up to speed. So under Massachusetts law, one issue that needs to be properly raised is prosecutors must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she was criminally responsible. Well, so far, it has been pointing other ways that Lindsay may have not been home. And just before Patrick returned home, just 2 days before, he was off at some, I don't know, seminar, alleged something for work for 2 days. And Lindsay was functioning, which looks like on the outside well. Doesn't mean she was functioning on the inside well, especially under all the medication. I don't know how she could keep this all together as a nurse and a mom with 3 under 5. I don't even know how I did it with 2 under 2. Okay. Yeah, really close to almost 3. But the prosecution must show her conduct was wrong or to control her behavior according to the law. And that is criminal responsibility instructions. So if you're wondering what that law is, you can actually go right to their website. It will show you model jury instructions that, it's the law, right? You have to be held criminally responsible. I don't know anything about this case, but I don't know where Phoenix finds time for another case. Oh, believe me, I focus on cases that really are just something is not right, folks. If you know me by now, I will get to the bottom of what's not right. Hey, no talkie before coffee. Welcome in. So good to see you on this weekend. And looking forward to this stream. I know zero about it, but when my daughter, not a crime fan, mentioned it, I knew it was one to pay attention to. Absolutely, because this 75-year-old defense attorney is amazing. So, hey, Philly girl, thanks for being a member for 1 month. This is amazing. Is this Andrea Yates in Houston? Reminds me of that case. Also, Susan Smith, right? It reminds me of that too. But I think in Susan Smith, she actually did it. And there was no other responsible party, even like in the Chris Watts, right? There was another responsible party that I feel strongly that the authorities covered up and hid. And he took a plea deal and they never brought this person into trial or testify. And there was a lot of the forensic evidence that was overlooked in the Watts case. Okay. So I believe closely, yeah, Tammy, this is really interesting. And also remember, Gypsy Rose Blanchard took a plea, and the LE sheriff reports, they all show something different too. She took a plea so she didn't have to go to trial and all the truth would come out. Now, I understand that. Yeah, I've avoided some other cases in this interim, but this is something that really got me on day, I would probably say by day 3, something just didn't sit right with me with Patrick on the stand. And, the other cases that I have covered, and I'm not abandoning the Brian Koberger case, not at all. that is kind of dwindling down as we wait in the transition phase to see what happens next. So I am going to be on top of both of them. And I have not abandoned any of the documents in the Koberger case because there is so much more to share. There is so much more. But this case has got me intrigued, especially when things don't align. If you've watched any of my videos on this, there is a progression of patterns that you're going to begin to see, especially like in the Idaho 4, now in the Koberger case. So, you know, they talk about the law and they have to go by what the law is, okay? So the prosecution has to make its case. The defense only has to put out reasonable doubt, which I believe the attorney Reddington is doing a fantastic job. And if you've not seen him in action, it has been amazing. So stop scrolling, because the Lindsay Clancy case, the defense attorney is not arguing that her children didn't die by her hands. He's arguing that because of severe mental illness, she may not have been legally capable of understanding or even controlling what she was doing. And Kevin Reddington is building that argument piece by piece. First, he's showing the jury what is documented in her medical records, right? Severe insomnia, depression, intrusive thoughts, suicidal thinking, and all her journals, which all show this. But now, on the last day of trial on the 13th, it's now showing how Lindsay was so worried. Yes, folks, how Lindsay was so worried about the fact that, hey, Lulu Bell, that she was worried the kids were in danger. I don't think she was basically saying that she was in danger. She was thinking the kids were in danger from herself. And looking at the evidence now and who was breaking down the profiles and the search, this is just wild. I'm going to play this video that I made this morning about this case, and you're going to catch a little bit of insight. I am 100% convinced that something was going on in this house that was not acceptable. Whatever it was, Lindsay caught on to what it was, and I believe she may have been a threat to Patrick. Now, this is all alleged, but I have been looking at all the documents and the facts in this trial so far, and even the special unit investigators tore apart and went down that laptop and all the searches. And if you know what this special unit does, then you'll probably understand what may have been going on in that house. Now, if Lindsay was telling everyone, I'm worried about the children, I'm concerned for the children, and the daughter was having UTIs, and perhaps Lindsay was searching UTIs, I know how some of this happens as a female. And I'm sure you as a female know also. I've gone through this. But I'll say something was not right in this house, period. Drop your thoughts below. I'm on the YT right now talking about this trial that is going to resume on Monday, day 14. This is absolutely wild. And I think the defense is doing a fabulous job. Come over to the YT and let's talk about it. You know the drill, be well. All right. So there's a couple of things that have come out in trial so far. So I'm going to try to recap this the best I can, because some of these things are going to be so important on Monday. And as it builds up, we're going to watch just a snippet of a couple of days. We're not going to watch the whole thing. But let me ask you here right now in the nest. Don't tell me guilty or not guilty yet. Which issue do you think the jury actually has to solve? Intent, mental illness, or planning? Okay, there you have it. And there's going to be some very, very sensitive topics here. Lindsay, okay, I've got a secret mod in here right now, so it is on subscriber mode only, so you have to be a subscriber to chit-chat in my chat today, because this is a very sensitive topic here. So do me a favor. Don't tell me guilty or not guilty yet, because this is in regards to Lindsay's mental health. If they can hold her criminally responsible, because let me break this down for you one real quick minute. Before hearing the evidence, the jury was essentially handed two options: planning versus psychosis. But here's something that we should track throughout this entire stream. Can organized behavior and severe mental illness exist at the same time? Because if they can, organization alone cannot answer the criminal responsibility question. Okay? Patrick Clancy became the prosecution's first witness, folks. Let that sink in for a minute. Her husband became the prosecutor's first witness. Yeah, Nora the Explorer, I hear you. Now think of this for a minute. Think about this. Her husband gets up on the stand and testifies for the prosecution. But let's go back to that day in January 2023. Lindsay is home with the children. Let's go back 3 days before that. Lindsay is home with the children for 2 days, taking care of the kids on a regular schedule. Everything is going hunky-dory. Patrick is gone at work function, away from their house, and he comes back the third day. And all of a sudden, within a quick errand, 15, 20 minutes outside of their house, he returns and all the kids are strangled, dead, left for dead. And she is basically paralyzed on the ground. EMS, 911 comes, officers come, and here is a husband screaming. He came home and found this. What would you do as an investigator or as a law enforcement official on a scene like this? What's the first thing that you do? Drop your comments below. Don't you go in and assess? You're standing with a perfectly healthy young male individual at the scene of a crime with no bruises, no nothing. We don't know yet because we haven't seen that. Yes, she's actually paralyzed. She is in a wheelchair in court the entire time. Here's a little snippet of court that we have been watching. This is a snippet of her having to listen to the prosecutor question. Yeah, she was perfect before, never paralyzed, nothing of the sort. And I just have to put this copyright and fair use up, and then we will watch this real quick. This is the prosecutor asking the witness to break down the medical examiner's testimony. And she has to listen to this.
Organs to fail. And based on your examination of Callan, did you come to a determination based on your training and experience to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to the cause of his death?
Yes.
And what was that?
Complications of mechanical asphyxia.
Okay. Court, all rise. Jurors, can we close the door, folks? Raise more chairs.
Now, the reason for the break in this video is because the medical examiner was testifying about the deaths of her children, and she had to be, the judge had to break for a sidebar, and then they came back to resume, and they just figured they couldn't because she was so distraught. Now, a lot of the questions that were going on in this live about this topic was that why couldn't they just have her on medication? She was so medicated anyways. Well, yes, from that fall, and from her, there's a lot of nurses here. From that fall, I made a video. And in this video, I talked about her injuries. It doesn't make sense. Lindsay Clancy's injury patterns. Everything showed major trauma documented to the upper body, spine, and chest. No lower body fractures. He said she jumped out the window, the second-story window, after all of this was done. Okay. And this is a very good question. How did she go from killing her children to ending up paralyzed? The math ain't mathin'. And yes, she is paraplegic. That means 2 limbs. Those are her bottom legs. And part of her upper rib was damaged. And that's the piece that I didn't understand. And they have not recreated this, and they have not talked about this yet. They're probably going to get into it next week. Okay. So the major trauma that I got from her record basically says there's no lower body fractures. How could she have jumped out the window? And there are plenty of evidence that's out there. And my question was, why are all these questions popping up in a trial that is trying to show that she is criminally responsible when she might not be criminally responsible? That's the reasonable doubt that it's putting in my head, that somebody else may be responsible. And you see this, there's another important detail that I found in the warrant that changes a lot of this discussion. Both hands actually were noted as possible scrapes on the backs of the knuckles. So how could somebody get injuries to the back of the knuckles while jumping out of a window? And why does she not have any leg injuries? And the only way that I realized in several different scenarios in my head is that she didn't jump out the window. She didn't shimmy down the window because the blood is on the outside of the house. And there's so many videos out there you can go and Google about her injuries. But how did she get possible scrapes on the backs around the knuckles? Now, if you imagine somebody climbing out of a window backwards and dangling, like trying to escape and hide, I could see that happening. Somebody shutting the window down on her knuckles, trying to get her to fall, right? That would be one way. Or somebody trying to shove her out the window and push her with their feet. I could see that. But not only that, they said that she had injuries on her wrist, which we'll get to next week. But in the documented individual injuries, this is all the information that I got for that other graphic. Everything was top up, nothing bottom. So the more you look at this investigation, how did she get defense wounds? That's one of the things that it really got me started in this case. Her injuries physically, and then watching the trial itself. So days 1 through 13, what did we learn? Why and what still doesn't fit the neatly into either side's story, nor the prosecution. Yeah, and I was thinking that maybe she was hanging out the window. If somebody chased me upstairs to my bedroom and the window was the only way out, I would definitely be hanging on for dear life. Now, if you've never seen this house on Summer Road, you know that I've already looked it up, right? Let me just, I didn't do a screenshot, so let me put up this. It's already been sold. They do no longer live there. And here is the house on Google Maps, 47 Summer Street in Duxbury. Okay, let me go to, let's do a Google Earth. I want to see this in a different way. I just thought about this. Her knuckles were beat to get her to, yeah, I mean, we're definitely doing a little bit of speculation here, right? We're definitely doing a little bit of speculation because something doesn't add up. And she's not even on trial for this specific purpose, right? Here is her address, 47 Summer Street. And I'm going to do a 3D. And we're just going to take a look at this house. And it was said her bedroom window, and I've got the evidence markers. I'll get into this. And let's see if I can see a street view. Let's see if it'll let me. I don't know if it will because of all the interest in this case. I don't think it will. We can try. They've got it blurred out a little bit too. But let me do this. I don't think it's going to give me. Let me do Google Maps. Let me see if it's blocked out there. I looked at it, I think on day 1 before. They recently blocked this out, by the way, too. So I wasn't surprised when they did this. Let me share this one. This one we might get a little bit more. Nope. They blocked it out. They're actually showing July 25. So let me see if I can go back to 23. Nope, they blocked that out now too. Okay, so you can barely see the house, but I'm going to go on Redfin or Realtor to get a better view of this house. And I could do a fly around, but there's 21 pictures here. And this is the, let me see if I can make this larger. Cute little house. And this is the master bedroom. I believe it's right off the side. Let me just see real quick. I believe it's right up here. Let me see if I can get a larger view. There are some evidence pictures. Let me grab that too so you could see those. And it said that her bedroom window for the master bedroom is right above, if you can see this, is right above right here. So even if you were hanging out this top left window and you were going to try to jump over to this little walkway, which is kind of like a entryway from the garage, it is a tiny, cute house, right? And you would fall right into this plant right here or whatever was here at the time. Because remember, these pictures are old. And let me see if... And remember, jumping into a live like this, we do everything on the fly. So I do have some pre-slides to put up, but I do not have any detailed unless we're looking really intense. Let me just see. There is an evidence photo that I grabbed. And this was at the time, it was January, and this is the actual picture at the time of this crime scene. Here's the actual pictures that were on file. Hold on. Let me grab this one. I got a huge file. I'm still going through it. And I was shocked at how much information that's out there that nobody is really talking about. Okay. This was just days after the, just days after. Okay. And remember, in the beginning, if you've never heard about this case before, in the beginning, they said 2 children dead and mother and infant in hospital because one of the children was still found and resuscitated in time. Okay. And the 8-month-old was rushed to the hospital. So they are saying that when her husband left to go to the store to get some medicine, that this all happened in a span of 15 minutes. Now, I don't know any mother who could do this to their children, being a mother myself. And Even if postpartum psychosis, much different than depression, much, much different. And we'll go through the difference. I'm sure many of you already know this, especially women in their 50s. I mean, I had a really hard time with postpartum depression because I was overseas with 2 kids under 3, right? And this happened. The 5-year-old girl and the 3-year-old boy were taken to the hospital and pronounced dead. The 5-year-old girl was said to be gone first. And this is the girl, the 5-year-old, with the history of UTIs. All right. There's going to be some sensitive content coming in. We're just going through the whole list as they've talked about them for the last 13 days. Now, no close neighbors or witnesses. Has she given any testimony as to what happened that night? No, but she has already said, I was hearing voices and the doctors and this and that. So they are just trying to determine if she had postpartum psychosis. Okay. So we're not diagnosing Lindsay. They've already done that. We're not minimizing the death of these 3 children. There's no way. And when discussing Lindsay's injuries, like falling out the window or jumping out the window, as Patrick has testified, I will only describe what is necessary to understand the evidence after competing arguments that displayed the graphic material. We didn't get to see that in the courtroom, but we do get to hear what's happening, and we can only imagine what they're showing them for evidence. Now, our job is just one thing. As always, we are following the evidence. Day 1, the 2 stories the jury was given. Don't even tell me if you think she's guilty or not yet, because we're only focusing on if she should be criminally responsible. And I don't think at this point she is. Absolutely thinking out loud. And I had a problem after my second. Yeah, overseas, alone, 2 kids. I don't know if many of you know, I won't go into a lot of detail, but I went through a really hard time with my first, and my second was a massive surprise. All right. So she could have hit the roof and bounced off. Is that what you're saying? Her feet would be broken. And if Dina's in here, she could say a little bit more. She's a nurse. And obviously, I've never heard of anybody landing. She might have landed on her head. So that means somebody might have shoved her out, right? Yes. And Tammy, you are right. You are right. I've never seen a study, and let me look again. I've never seen a study where postpartum, and I looked this up last night, and remember, I am not giving you any legal advice, but anybody can go and look up studies. And the definition of postpartum psychosis by Cleveland Clinic, and I'm going to throw it in the chat so everybody knows the difference in what we're talking about, right? Because this is really important. These topics need to be talked about, okay? And it's going to put it in 3 different sections. Postpartum psychosis, PPP, not PPD, is a serious mental health emergency that can affect individuals shortly after giving birth. But her baby was already 8 months, okay? It can give you a distorted sense of reality, leading to symptoms such as hallucinations, delusions, and paranoia. This is what they have to prove. The prosecution has to prove she had none of these. It can affect women with no prior history of any mental illness, impacting 1 in 1,000 mothers after childbirth. But keep in mind, she is a nurse by trade and sometimes referred to as postnatal psychosis, after the fact. All right, after the fact. And UTIs, private Gemini, on a young girl, though, and it could be from not properly wiping, right? But it leaves the door open if she was properly wiping and he was home alone with the kids at any time. What was probably going on? Because there's a caveat to this, which we can speculate all day long. And I think they're going to do it on Monday. I hope so, because they talked about the UTIs on Friday, and they talked about Lindsay's concern about, let me see if I still have this video. Lindsay's concern about, hold on, let me see if I still have it. I think I do. I think maybe I don't. Let me just take a peek at this. Yeah. Maybe I don't have the video anymore. Dang it. I wish I would have saved it. Teaches me, huh? Where is it? Nope, I didn't save it. So here, let me see if I can find it this way. And we're not saying that this person was doing anything nefarious, but when they bring in a special search expert, right, for a search history of any electronics in that house, that really makes me think something is not right. Lindsay took her daughter to the doctors that same day of the incident for symptoms that could have been UTI related. All right. Her teachers reported that she was requesting to use the bathroom too many times. The same daughter that would go on trips with Patrick alone. A lot of people don't realize that. He would take her on trips alone. And it's sad. It's sad. And it can be a form of bacteria, right? Oh my God. Yes, the child did. And it's documented in court. And I've had those, and it's miserable. It's absolutely miserable bacteria. She said that her stomach was hurting. She had frequent urination problems. There have been too many of us that have sat in the bathroom floors crying. We know what this is a sign of. We know. Okay? And I'm not accusing anyone. I'm just saying, she kept saying that she was worried about the children. Worried about the children, worried about the children. I can't find that video, but we're going to keep continuing. And, you know, Lindsay Clancy's ex-husband clearly said that she was a very dedicated mother. A very dedicated mother. And, you know, PPD is very difficult. I'm not experienced with PPP. It is not well known. A lot of people don't understand the difference. And obviously, she broke down in court while hearing about the autopsies of her children. Now, on day 2, Patrick, they talk about the 911 call and the normal interactions. So Patrick completed his testimony. Jurors heard the extraordinary 911 call, and they also heard testimony concerning the pharmacy and takeout interactions. Those interactions were all described as normal that day. And Patrick also testified that Lindsay had been extremely sleep deprived and highly anxious. Here's the question on day 2. This is where I want to challenge both narratives. The prosecution can say she sounded normal because that's their goal. Their goal is to say she's normal. The defense is to say, no, she had PPD. Sleep deprived. That is not normal to have sleep deprivation. Has anyone in this nest had sleep deprivation? Drop a 1. I'll be the first to do it. I mean, when I was raising kids, oh my gosh, boy, did I not sleep. But here's the deal. Are we all under sleep deprivation? Are we all psychotic? It doesn't establish psychosis. So what's really missing here? What's happening internally? She can't sleep. Is she on guard watching the kids all the time because she's worried about them? Or is she really sleep deprived because something physically is going on? Every mother is sleep deprived. Absolutely. And remember, we didn't even get into the digital evidence yet in the medical side. Remember the discussion concerning the suicide-related page on Patrick's device? I wrote that down. Somebody searched. Well, she was allegedly getting ready and getting the daughter ready to go to the medical office. So Patrick testified that he searched the musician Tom Hall and researched suicide information through the links associated with Hall's Wikipedia page. Okay? We're coming back to this on day 13. Don't forget this. This is really important. And if you know the musician Tom Hall, I didn't know who he was until I heard this in trial. Okay? He is an American songwriter. And one of the songs that he sang was about some twisted how do I want to say this? Gosh. It had to do with suicide, right? And there was a song he wrote, The Storyteller, That's How I Got to Memphis, and he died of suicide, right? And the search history searched Tom Hall's music. Now, I don't know if you, but I wouldn't really, as a woman, search Tom Hall. You have to understand the connection behind there. Patrick was the one very familiar with Tom Hall's music and had searched him out in a personal interest. He said he accidentally followed a link of information about Hall's death after initially looking for his songs. He said this out of his own mouth. He didn't say he was contemplating suicide. He didn't say that. The prosecution argued that the search history, especially the suicide-related links, including indicating trouble, mental, or intent, potentially relevant to Lindsay's alleged actions. So to me, this felt like gaslighting. The defense maintained those searches were Patrick Clancy's personal activity, unrelated to Lindsay's mental health at the time of the killings. They focused on claims that Lindsay suffered from postpartum psychosis and, yes, was over-medicated. So Tom Hall's search is not evidence of the connection between Hall and Lindsay or her family. It's part of the digital, remember the expert I told you about? The digital evidence being debated in court, whether both sides interpreting its relevance differently. So the prosecution is trying to say that she searched this. I can't wait. Is she going to take the stand? Drop a 1 if you think she will. Drop a 1 if you think she's going to take the stand. I'm very curious. Very curious. Okay, so PPP, we're talking about PPP. They could harm their newborn. And it can affect women with no prior history of mental illness, like I said, but that's 1 in 1,000 mothers after childbirth. Okay, I think, this case is definitely taking my interest right now in the interim. Now, let's review what happened on day 3. If you're just new to this case, you can go back to the beginning. I started at day 1. We just finished day 2. We talked about Patrick up on the stand. But keep in mind, Tom Hall is going to factor back in on day 13. Keep that in mind. And I'm telling you, Mr. Reddington, 75-year-old guy, testifying. The defense, not the prosecution. He's the defense attorney. And, you know, I couldn't even get off the phone the other day with watching him. He was on fire, okay? I mean, like, serious fire. Let me just show you a clip real quick if you know, so you know. Let me see, Mr. Reddington. I looked at some of his past cases, just fabulous. You know, we have constitutional rights in this country we live in. And I don't think she did it. I just don't think she did it, in my humble opinion. Let me just see. He dropped a breadcrumb on, and I'm going to play this. I might get dinged for copyright strike, but that's okay. It's worth it because I want you guys to see this. Let me just pull this up here and share this with you. This is crazy.
The reason that Lindsay went to the doctors was in September 2022. July and August of 2022, they were very happy. Lovely little family. September, things went sideways. Exhibit 238. And just a representative example, I mean, looking through, well, you look at September 28th at 6:18 in the morning.
Sir, can you repeat that date?
Yeah, sure. September 28th. Oh, you didn't do, that's right, you didn't do September. You only did January, right?
Sir, this exhibit is just for January of 2023.
Okay, I apologize. Let's jump to January then. The reason
He dropped a massive breadcrumb. This family started to deteriorate in September of 22. What was going on then? For those of you who have been watching this case roll out in real time, what was happening in September of 2022? Do you know? Drop a 1 if you know. If you don't, I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to definitely come back and follow up after Monday. This is going to be huge. My Big Red is a whole vibe. He's thought about this whole entire thing. He was ready for trial. I'm thinking insurance policy, could be wrong. Well, did you see my very, very first post on this? 302 views, 302, I can't even speak. 300,000 views. It was $1.7 million GoFundMe, sold the house for $675, went on vacation just 20 days after his children were dead, active lawsuit for medical malpractice against all the medication and the doctors and all that stuff going on. And then he remarried the doctor he met the same year his children died. But I believe they were maybe had something going longer than that. And she looks exactly like Lindsay. Exactly. And that's the very first day that I posted about this after watching, there was nothing on TV. And I thought, I'm going to watch something different. So I started digging into this case. Absolutely blew my mind. So day 3, we have first responders on the scene. If you saw that, I found so many misstatements that were made by Patrick in his testimony, the EMTs, and a witness. Okay? And I'll give you those talking points real quick. The EMT showed up and said that these kids were face up. Patrick testified the kids were face down. And someone else had said the kids were hanging. So there were 3 different, I can't make this up, 3 different reasons. Husband got busted for his ill behavior. Also, the lady in court who was observing the trial is an advocate for women. I can't remember her name, but she's watching. Nora, try to remember and let me know. I'd like to know that. Good point, Taki. Yep. 4 years ago. When you confront these, yep, they flip the frick out. Boy, when I confronted my ex, he freaking flipped out because I told him, knock it off and stop projecting. I've already found what's on your computer. Yep. COVID, maybe, I don't know. Well, I was dealing with postpartum. I was placed on a medication that caused psychosis. I never wanted to hurt my children. Absolutely. Just myself. Got married. Yep. I'm not surprised. And I could speculate and say he came back from that business trip, who God only knows what he was doing on the business trips, because we trust our husbands. Comes back, and then all of a sudden, all his kids are, 2 of them are dead, and the rest of them are taken to the hospital, and the other one died. How could there be 3 different scenarios? I have FOIA'd 2 of them. The statement that the police and the EMTs. I want to know who is telling the story here. They said it's usually with psychosis that you don't. Yeah. Now, I know that if there's something wrong with their kids, it happens in animal kingdom too. They will do something to their children. Patrick's story, his testimony was so horrible. He was so bored, Nora the Explorer said. When a murder occurs, you suspect our spouses, close friends, or relatives. That's what the FBI says, folks. And Dina, thank you for saying that. You are the GOAT.
You are the greatest of all time.
Now, I'll find the picture. Okay, perfect. That would be awesome. I've done some digging on the backgrounds. Even the people who own the house now. Very interesting. You know me, I leave no stone unturned. And there's a lot of other TikTok and YouTube detectives that don't leave any stone unturned. Now, let's get on to finish day 3. So one responder describes Lindsay's injuries in relative limited terms. They didn't get really far into that. The defense challenged the characterization of those injuries and emphasized her spinal trauma. So here, Reddington is on day 3, right? Day 3 of trial, and they get into the EMTs and Lindsay's injuries. Okay. Now, this is the video that I wanted to share with you.
For us to get inside of the house, that did heard a voice yelling for us to get inside of the house, that there was a kid hanging in the basement.
And did you go into the house?
We did.
And what entrance did you go in?
Through the slider doors in the rear.
And did that lead you into the kitchen?
Yes.
And then did you proceed to the basement?
Yes.
When you got down to the basement, down the basement stairs, would it be accurate to state that you can either go right or left?
Yes.
Which direction did you go?
We took a left.
And what did you see when you went left?
We took a left and we saw Callan and Cora face up on the ground.
And when you saw them, what did you do?
I immediately jumped on the radio to ask for 2 additional ambulances, that we needed more help. And Patrick ran to Cora and I went to Callan.
And is this the room that you entered?
Yes.
And where was Cora, to your memory?
Cora was just to the left in this picture, and Callan was just to the right.
And when you say just to the left, are you putting over towards the equipment against the wall in the picture?
Yes.
And when you say to the right, are you pointing to the area to the right of the dresser?
Yes.
Showing you Exhibit 98. Is that the area where Callan was found?
Yes.
And close up, Exhibit 99. You see the pajamas there, the stethoscope, and the blue exercise band?
Yes.
Do you recall removing Callan's pajamas to treat him?
I did, yes. I didn't remove his entire onesie right away. Made sure that checked him for a pulse. He did not have one. Immediately started chest compressions on him.
Now, for this is an 8-month-old baby,
Yes.
correct? Is the way you do chest compressions for a baby different than other people, other ages?
Yes, because of the size, you have to scoop your arms around and you compress with your thumbs in the side.
I'll allow it.
So you said you have to put your hands underneath on the back of the child and then use your thumbs to do compressions?
Yes.
And is that what you did for Callan?
Yes.
And what did you do next?
Continued CPR on him until more help and hands started to arrive on scene. We had an off-duty firefighter, Tom Brandt, come in, and he started to assist me. He took over compressions briefly while more help started to arrive.
When Brandt took over chest compressions, what did you do?
At that point, someone had brought down a bag valve mask to help us deliver oxygen to the child, and we started delivering oxygen to the child.
At some point, did you remove the pajamas completely?
Yes.
And when you removed the pajamas completely, was that so someone could attempt to get IO access through the baby's legs? And was that successful?
That was not successful, no.
Is that difficult to do with a child that age?
It's a little more difficult. It's a less frequent practice skill, but.
Were multiple attempts made to get the IV and access into the bone in Callan's leg?
I attempted once, and another provider attempted a second time. I don't remember who that was.
What did you do next?
Eventually, Kingston Fire arrived on scene to provide the ambulance for transport for Callan. I don't know how long we were in the basement for, but we did make the decision eventually it was time to get moving to the truck and start going to the hospital.
While you were working on Callan, did you notice any injuries on him?
Yes, he had deep strangulation marks around the entire circumference of his neck.
And throughout the entire time that you're in the basement, are chest compressions being done and you're trying to assist him with breathing?
Yes.
Did he, in the home, ever regain a pulse or the ability to breathe?
No, he did not.
So then they transfer him over to the hospital. That was the youngest Callan, 8 months old. Okay. Then they had, this is day 3. This is just a recap, folks. I'm going to share this video with you real quick on the recap. Then they had the defense attorney, Reddington. I think we should come up with a name for him. What are we going to, Power Red? What should we call him? Red Power? This is the defense questioning the first responder.
On benzodiazepines, is that correct?
Yeah, we don't give it for benzodiazepines.
And in any event, when you gave Narcan to the body that was laying on the ground, and she had already been wrapped up on her wrist, right?
That's correct.
Already been wrapped up, had the thing on the...
No, he's talking about the first responder to Lindsay's injuries, which we just are going to discuss.
neck to prevent the head from moving, right?
That's correct.
And also it had bandages perhaps on her neck area, I'm not sure.
There were no bandages.
I know who that is, Nora. The girl with the short blonde hair. She is fabulous. I wonder if she is working with Reddington. She is fabulous. She reminds me of that. She's got the hair that looked like that one cook, that celebrity cook that sticks up. Yeah. Okay. Red Bull. There we go. We've got Red Bull in the house. Big Red. That's good too. What would you name him? Mighty Red. That's a good one too. Absolutely. Whew. I love this community, folks.
Bandages that I could see because the collar blocks. Yeah, most of it I could see. There are some holes in the collar that we could see some superficial lacerations through, but there was no active bleeding. Her wrist.
Okay, so her wrist had already been bandaged by the time that the first responder shows up. And that's what the defense is asking. So somebody had to have given her some type of quick treatment for her wrists that were cut. And remember, she's laying on the ground and she cannot move.
Were already bandaged, so we don't take the bandages off after they're on. Okay. And there was no blood through.
I ask the questions, you can answer them, okay? Narcan administered to Lindsay Clancy on the ground, yes?
In the ambulance, but yes.
So they give, yeah, the blood was dry though. Yes. They give her Narcan. Okay. She is drugged out. There's hyped up, whatever you want to say. A lot of medication.
And there was no reaction. It didn't have any effect on her, right?
She appeared to become a little bit more, she started like reaching and grabbing a little bit more than she was before.
Yes, no talkie before coffee. There's a reason that I did not explain all her injuries. And this is why. As you learn them, that is when you say, wait, what? Wait. How come they didn't address this? She is right-handed. Patrick is left-handed. And wait till you find where they found the knife. We're going to talk about this too.
Consistent as well with a person who's had a head injury, right?
Could be.
Yeah. So in any event, the Narcan that you're trained would be dealing with opioids, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, did you know, sir, at all that she suffered a burst fracture of a cervical spine? Did you know that, sir?
No.
T5 through T6, T4, 6, 7, 8, all exploded, fractured. Did you know that?
No.
Did you know that there was hemorrhaging into her body, that she fractured every rib in her body?
No.
It was pretty
Now, I didn't know about fracturing all her ribs. I thought it was just one. But when I started listening to the actual defense put this on and look at the actual documented evidence from the doctor, I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
back out there, wasn't it?
It was.
Did you obviously administer aid to her, or did you also have like a flashlight on your head, or were you holding a flashlight, or what?
She was already
Remember, it was approximately, I believe that article said 6 p.m. at night.
packaged. She was already on the longboard and everything. So we picked her up, put her on the stretcher, and moved out of the backyard into the ambulance.
So how long did you handle, if you will, her while she was laying there?
On scene, we were only on scene for, I think it was 7 minutes, I think, total on scene from the time that we.
Chaotic?
Yes.
And it was dark in the backyard, right?
Yes.
There was no exterior lighting, nothing on the house that was lit up like spotlights or anything, right?
That's correct.
No flashlights, right?
No.
And you scrutinized a hole in the thing that goes around the neck when someone has a head injury, especially a cervical injury, thoracic injuries. You scrutinized a hole that noted that there was a superficial wound to her neck.
That's all we could see through the side of the collar.
Who's we?
Me and my partner.
Was your partner scrutinizing the hole as well?
The whole, I
You
don't,
said there's a hole in that, and the thing that goes around the neck.
yeah, there's holes in the collar that you can see through.
Right, and you were scrutinizing. You were looking through it, right?
Yeah.
You just told the jury you saw
Yes.
superficial kind of the neck, right?
Yes.
Did your partner look through the hole as well? And you've talked about your testimony with the district attorneys in the past, haven't you?
Yes.
One of the things that they asked you is whether or not it appeared as though the injuries to her neck or wrist were superficial. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And other than looking through the little hole in the thing around her neck in the dark, you didn't see her neck after that was removed, did you?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Como, redirect?
Sir, after the 7 minutes that you were in the dark backyard, you were then in an ambulance for 18 minutes with the patient, correct?
That's correct.
And there's lighting in the ambulance, correct?
There is.
And during those 18 minutes in the well-lit ambulance, did you ever see blood seeping through the bandages on her wrists?
No.
During those 18 minutes in the well-lit ambulance, did you ever see blood pooling around her neck or flowing from the neck?
No.
Thank you.
So they're saying those injuries happened prior, I believe. That's what they're probably alluding to, as the prosecution said. So help me out, Nest. We are going to label Mr. Red for our streams, and we are either going to vote on Red Bull #1 for a nickname, 2, Mighty Red, or 3, Big Red. Drop your 1, 2, or 3 below on this poll. And then when I say his nickname, you'll know exactly who we are talking about. He's a pit bull. I love it. Absolutely. There are some good finds in this trial, guys. I'm saying. So Big Red is the 100% right now. If you have a preference, drop it below, and that's what we'll call him. So everyone will know who we're, got hiccups, talking about. Lulu Bell. Lulu Bell says Big Red. Peony says Big Red. No talkie before coffee. Big Red. Nora says Big Red. All right. And I'll just wait a second. Red Bull. There's some Red Bull. And another Big Red. All right. So we will call him. Let me end this. I'm going to stop the poll, and we're going to do 86% here at Phoenix Talks in our nest. We are going to call him Big Red. Okay? So every time I say Big Red, you know that it is Defense Attorney Reddington. Big Red. Now, on day 3, continuing on with Lindsay's injuries, you just heard a little bit about what they talked about, and the EMT first responders testified. One said her injuries to her neck and wrist were relatively limited terms, while the defense challenged the characteristic of those injuries. All right? So we're not going to turn the injuries into a spectacle here. It's relevant evidentiary question, but do those injuries that Lindsay had, do they establish, let me say this with a drink of water. Hold on. Do any of those injuries establish intent? No, I don't think so. The prosecution may argue that certain injuries support its theory about the nature of the suicide attempt, right? But the defense may argue that the overall medical picture demonstrates a genuine attempt to die. And that's what the defense's job is to do in this case, because they have to find her criminally accountable. All right? That's what they have to do. Now, someone might say they were superficial. Is that a medical measurement or is that interpretation? That distinction matters. So it sounds to me like these EMTs who were well trained were saying that it was superficial. Keep that in mind because it gets better. So I just want to show you this video recap. This was the defense about the superficial cut on her neck, okay? This is important too as we get into day 13.
Do you know on that evening what the temperature was outside? And how long was she laying in the snow and on the ground?
We got the call at 6-ish or whatever time it was. We responded.
The call came because her husband came home from picking up food and found her on the ground, right?
Correct.
So you don't know how long she was laying in the snow on the ground, right?
No.
In the cold?
Correct.
And what's hemostasis? Do you know?
What's that?
What's hemostasis? What does that mean?
Just a coagulation.
And you know what the effect of hypothermia? Let me ask you, what's hypothermia?
It's just the body under temperature of the body.
Under temperature of the body?
Or your body is not at temperature that it should be.
Right, because of the environment, right? Cold, right?
Yes.
Some hypothermia affects the blood flow, doesn't it?
Yes.
In fact, you actually have a thing called therapeutic hypothermia, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all these questions about whether or not there's blood seeping through the wrist bandages and whether or not there's blood through the holes on the neck brace, you don't know what effect the hypothermia, if any, had on that, would you?
No.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
All right. So Big Red basically told the EMT, number one, hypothermia matters. And as many nurses are here, it will say it will slow the blood down, coagulation. You cannot ignore, number two, her crushed up pills. They found crushed up pills. Okay. I don't know how many. I don't know what grams. Remember, this woman was unconscious, unresponsive when they found her. The EMT also said that she said there are 3 kids in the basement, and she did not speak for 6 days. Her bed moved to the window. That's a heavy lift. The Apple Watch was taken off her wrist. The timeline doesn't add up. And we seem to forget, guys, especially what Dina just said. We seem to forget husbands don't need psychosis to kill their wife and kids. They just have to want a new life. And Dina, I'm sorry that you had to go through this. And as a nurse, you're right. I mean, how many people did you see that were women that tried to take their lives? Women don't want anyone to have to clean up a mess. And being an RN, I don't believe the cuts were made by her. I mean, how? And that's what we're going to get into with the knife. We're going to get there. And Dina is speaking. And how would she slice herself and then throws herself out the window? Absolutely. And left in the snow. How long was she out there? Because if he was away from the house for 15 minutes, he let her lay out there for how long, folks? There's things that do not add up in this case that I'm going to keep talking about. Okay? Going to keep on talking about. Now, remember, here's a rule if you just arrived to Phoenix Talks. We're not going to turn the injuries into a spectacle. We're not. But I just want you to understand that there were other factors involved with her injuries that do not align. Okay? I'm glad, Dina, you showed up in my life. I'm glad that you showed up for other women because these are some serious topics that we're discussing. Serious, sensitive topics. Okay? Now, Big Red on the stand, obviously, in the showroom, in the courtroom. You know, the visitors went and got to explore and see the Clancy's home. They got to go to the Clancy's home to see what had happened. All right, here is the actual photo from that next day. Here is the snow on the ground. I can't imagine laying in the snow and nobody getting help, no phone to get help. They were permitted to examine the basement and the rooms on the first and second floors. That matters. Unlike in the Idaho 4, the jury, there was no jury, but they would have never been able to seat a jury and get to go to the crime scene because the crime scene was torn down. This house still stands. It's a big difference. Photographs flatten space. You don't see the whole effect. When you walk into a room, you get to experience in real life 5D, right? So the jury gives jurors something different: distance, stairs, visibility, relationships to where everything is in the room, and time travel. Could Lindsay, at their point of view, that we don't know what they got to see, they have to go through in their minds and say, could Lindsay physically do everything alleged? Yes, we are survivors. Absolutely. I never tried that. I hope, no, my mind doesn't even go there. I capture every thought. Every thought. And if you have ever done that, you are worthy. I'm going to tell every single woman in here that even if you're struggling or not, you are worthy, and you are worthy more than you know. You are loved and you are valued. And even if you are having a hard time today, physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, you are loved and cared for. You show up for me, I'm going to always show up for you. Now, the jury has to go and walk through this house and think in their minds, how could Lindsay have done all this? And what physical geography tells us about the timeline? What do I mean? Placement of items. Moving around. Did it look like there was a struggle? Is there more that the prosecution and the defense has not discussed? And why did prosecutors want jurors physically standing inside that house? The house, I mean, in my humble opinion, effectively becomes a witness. The house is a witness to what happened that day. Think about it for a second. Abstract, I know, but that house speaks volumes. Okay? And that was day 4. They go and they walk through the crime scene. I would love to know, after this trial is done, that what they experienced when they walked into that house, the feeling. Women are intuitive. What did they pick up on? What did they see? And this is very interesting when this got brought up on day 4. I got a clip I wanted to share with you also.
Were medical staff tending to her during the time that you were with her?
Yes.
Where in the South Shore Hospital was this? The emergency department or someplace else?
Emergency department.
And shortly after you were there observing her, did she or did the doctors indicate she was going to be transported someplace else?
Yes.
Where was she going to go?
That she was going to be med-flighted to the Brigham in Boston.
And other than yourself or other law enforcement and medical staff, did anyone speak with her at the South Shore Hospital?
No.
And when you, when she was transported to the hospital in Boston, did you go along with the transport?
Yes.
Do you remember how she was transported?
It was a med-flight helicopter.
So you rode in the helicopter with her?
Yes.
And when you arrived at the Brigham in Boston, where did she go there?
She went to the emergency room.
Did you remain with her during that time period?
Correct.
And was there anyone else with you at the Brigham with her?
Officer Broderick.
And so the two of you were, what was your role?
Just to overwatch and stay with her.
At any point when you were with her at the Brigham, did she ever, was she ever awake or responsive?
No, not to my knowledge.
And how long were you at the Brigham with her?
About 15 to 16 hours.
Okay, so fair to say it was over the course of that night into the next morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Over the course of the night into the next morning, do you observe her medical status change?
There was some type of medical code during the nighttime. I'm not sure what it was.
Okay, but you were present in the room when that happened?
Yes, we were outside the room.
Outside?
Yeah.
At some point, the decision was made medically that they were going to have her med-flighted to the Boston Hospital, Brigham and Women's, right?
Correct.
And that was by way of the helicopter.
Yes, sir.
You had a helicopter ride into Boston with her, right?
Yes, sir.
You were overwatching her in the helicopter again, right?
Yes, sir.
She still had not gained consciousness at all.
Correct.
She wasn't talking to you or medical staff or anybody, right?
Correct.
She was already had the tubes and stuff in her mouth coming out, and she was bandaged up and wrapped up and basically laying down in the gurney in the helicopter, right?
Yes, sir.
So when she gets to Brigham and Women's Hospital, they bring her into the emergency room, right?
Yes.
And how many police officers were overwatching the unconscious person while she was in the emergency room at Brigham and Women?
2.
That would be you and the other officer from Duxbury.
Yes, sir.
At what point did the state police officers arrive in the hospital?
I don't recall them coming to the hospital.
Did you ever see state police in the hospital?
Possibly at South Shore Hospital, but not in Boston.
Police were detailed, if you know, to sit outside the room to guard the door. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what were you guarding against?
Objection.
No, overall.
Anybody coming to visit?
Right, because nobody was allowed to visit, right?
Correct.
And then while you were there in the early morning hours, about 2:24 or something like that, there was, as you said to the jury, a code, right?
Yes.
And again, that kind of amped up the bedlam at that point, didn't it?
Yes, sir.
There were people running from all over, and you could hear on the microphone, code blue, with the room being identified, right?
Yes.
And that meant that she was dead or dying, right?
Yes.
She was chained to the hospital bed too, wasn't she?
I do not recall her being handcuffed.
You don't?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you recall when you left?
The Brigham, sir?
I always find it very odd how police officers can remember so much, and then he asked, was she chained to the bed? Who would be able to answer that? Who would be able to verify, vet, confirm if she was chained to the bed? Medical notes? Doctor? Code blue and chained to a bed? Did they feel that she was that much of a danger to herself? The prosecution is trying to say that her wounds were superficial, but she coded. Y'all? And Tammy, you are absolutely 100% correct. right? Same as Chris Watt. Yeah, you guys are seeing the pattern. You guys are seeing the pattern. She was intubated and in a coma, barely alive. She didn't need to be cuffed to the bed, in my humble opinion, but I understand that maybe that was the the hospital's regulation rules or whatever, because she was they were looking at her from a criminal standpoint. And yes, they said that he was fully investigated. I don't know what that means. And this trial is not about Patrick, because she's already taken the fall, in my humble opinion. Yes, chained to the hospital bed while coding. Yeah, Shanann was, but still. All right, so we are on day 5. We've got a long way to go. I'm going to try to speed it up. So the medical condition after the fall is basically she is paraplegic, right? But they're mostly focusing on her psychiatric condition. Now, I'm going to ask you here, the chat, the nest, drop a 1 if you think that Lindsay's psychiatric condition was worse after the event. Drop a 1 if you think it was worse after this event happened. Drop a 1. I want to see kind of where we're on the same page, because there's 2 separate questions. Did Lindsay intend to die after all this? Or was Lindsay legally insane when the children died? Because they are saying that she admitted to this. Okay, remember, 6 days she couldn't speak. She wakes out of a coma and they tell her, my God, you killed your kids. You are in deep trouble. Because a genuine suicide attempt, in my humble opinion, would not automatically establish a lack of criminal responsibility. It would, in the evidence suggesting planning, would not automatically disprove psychosis, right? That distinction should stay on our board for the entire stream. Think about this. They're not the same question, 2 separate questions. Did she intend to die afterward, or was Lindsay legally insane when the children died? Because they are saying she did this. She is saying she did this. She believes she did this. This is starting to feel like psyops on repeat. Totally not making sense to me. But I'm getting spicy now, and so did I after I started looking into this. And Dina, from a nurse perspective, says if you are intubated, then you would be tied down just to make sure you wouldn't pull anything out your breathing. Absolutely. But this reason being cuffed was for criminal reasons. I'm so glad I got rid of my ex before tragedy. Oh, gaslighting 101. Yep. I want to dig into Patrick and his associates. Well, I've done that. Very interesting. I've uncovered some shady stuff, in my humble opinion, allegedly. And we'll get into that later on. But I want to watch day 14 coming up. So think about this the entire stream. Now we get into day 6. The trials moved heavily into physical evidence, forensic processing, and chain of custody, right? Whatever happened at this house, there is a chain of custody. There's a processing of forensic evidence. And Lindsay also confirmed a legal stipulation that allowed certain uncontested foundational matters be accepted without requiring numerous additional witnesses. So here's what I want to think about. This is a great teaching moment. A stipulation in court doesn't necessarily mean the defense agrees with the prosecution's theory. It can simply mean we aren't wasting the jury time, providing something else neither side disputes. Kind of like we both agree we're going to go to trial. We're not going to talk about certain things like a motion in limine or a stipulation that both sides agree. We're going to focus on this. So let's start separating this case into facts no one disputes and facts whose meaning is disputed. And I know this might sound a little confusing, but this is the distinction. The distinction is very much needed, that this trial makes it easier to understand. There's certain things they can't talk about in trial. And both sides know that they are off limits. Okay. And this was on day 6. And day 6 was pretty heated. If you watch day 6, boy, I was hooked. I was in the middle of doing something else and I thought, what? I have to finish watching day 6 trial. And one thing that caught my eye on day 6 was it begins with what was that girl's name? The trauma surgeon, right? The trauma surgeon took the stand. Let's watch this clip.
Thank you. The Commonwealth would call Christina Carpio.
And the prosecution calls the female. Come on, get with it.
Good morning. Can you stop right there and raise your right hand?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
All right. Buckingham, please.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please tell the jury your first and last name?
Christina Carpio.
And can you spell your last name for the record?
C-A-R-P as in Peter, I-O.
And what do you do for work?
I am a general surgeon trained in trauma and critical care.
And where do you currently work?
I'm hired by Brigham, but I work at South Shore Hospital.
Can you tell us a little bit about your educational background?
I completed medical school and then went to general surgery residency for 5 years at Columbia Presbyterian. I then did 2 additional years of trauma and surgical critical care at Yale. And then I've been working for Brigham and South Shore Hospital since 2016.
And explain to us how it is that you work for both Brigham and South Shore Hospital as a trauma surgeon.
Brigham has many physicians of all specialties who are at South Shore Hospital. At one point, I think there was a merger attempted between the 2 institutions. Either way, my salary comes from Brigham, but I work only at South Shore Hospital.
Okay, so that was kind of my follow-up question. Generally, your day-to-day work is at the South Shore Hospital in Weymouth?
That's correct.
And what kind of hospital, or what level hospital, trauma level hospital is the South Shore Hospital?
A level 2.
And so if there are cases that come in that need more acute care, are they generally sent over to a hospital in Boston like the Brigham?
Yes, depending. Sometimes we get input from the subspecialists to guide that decision.
And as far as your role as a trauma surgeon, do you actually do surgeries at the South Shore Hospital?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm going to draw your attention to January 24th of 2023. Were you working at the South Shore Hospital that day?
Yes.
And what was your role that day?
I was the on-call surgeon. I was physically in the hospital working.
At some point in the evening hours, were you advised that a patient was being transported to the South Shore emergency room as a level 1 trauma?
Yes.
And so when you are advised of that level of trauma, or you're advised of a critical patient coming into the emergency department, what do you do?
There are guidelines for how quickly we have to be present in the emergency room. Because I'm also operating, at times I may be in the operating room when that notification happens.
So in this particular case, when a patient, a female patient by the name of Lindsay Clancy was coming into the emergency department, were you able to go down to the emergency department as part of the assessment team?
Yes.
And who were you working with from the emergency department in this case?
Dr. Kelly McDonough.
Now, is that a common thing that you collaborate with the emergency room doctors or nurses and technicians in a situation like this?
Yes.
Did you have information that came in through the EMS or the paramedics about the nature of the patient's condition?
I recall that we were told it was a fall of unclear mechanism from a height of about 20 feet.
And were you advised that there was the possibility of maybe neurological deficits or some serious spinal injury?
Yes.
And as a result of that information, did that inform your trauma assessment?
It was already activated as a level 1. That's the highest mechanism when there is concern for a height from a certain level, a fall from a height of a certain level, and with possible neurological injury.
So were members of the neurology department also part of that trauma assessment team?
No.
Okay. As far as your assessment, did you go and physically see the patient, make observations?
Yes.
And did you observe her in the emergency department to be intubated?
Shortly after arrival, she was intubated.
So that was done by the staff at South Shore Hospital, to your knowledge?
Yes.
And did you observe injuries to her neck and her wrists?
Yes.
Did you evaluate those to determine whether they needed immediate surgical intervention?
Yes.
Did they?
No, they were superficial.
And as far as additional tests to assess whether there's any other surgical intervention that's needed, are you aware that CT scans were ordered?
Yes.
And are you aware what areas of the body they were ordered for?
We did a pan scan, which means we scanned the head, the neck, the chest, and the abdomen, pelvis.
As far as your physical observations of the patient, did you observe any obvious injuries to her head area, like abrasions, contusions, fractures?
There were lacerations to her neck.
Okay, but as far as the rest of her head or around her, like
Not
skull
obvious.
or
No.
face? And so when those CT scans were done, were you able to review the information that came from them?
Yes.
And as far as those CT scans, you're aware that there was a head CT scan or 2 head CT scans, one with contrast and one without.
Mm-hmm.
And were you aware that the findings, were there no definite acute intracranial findings on the non-contrast enhanced head CT?
Yes.
And there were no significant findings on the contrast head CT, correct?
The head CT with contrast was what we call an angiogram head and neck. So it's ordered in 2 parts and has 2 reports. At the time of the documentation that was performed, we had the report back on the head section, but the neck was not completed at that time.
Okay. Was there eventually a completed angiogram of the neck area at South Shore Hospital?
The images were done, the report was completed. I don't know the timeline of when the report came in compared to when the patient was transferred.
So as far as your initial assessment and
So they say that she has this really serious injury. It's a level 1. They come up, they ask questions. This was day 6. And this is the end of day 6. When I saw Lindsay mouth something like this, she knew, because they weren't telling her everything. She had to have known. I believe she did say, he did it, I'm innocent. He did this. I was innocent. So I don't know what they told her when she woke up out of this coma and all her kids are dead and she is a freaking mess. I think that's when the plan was put into place to say, okay, she was obviously having a PPP episode. And sadly, when you get to day 7, you start seeing some more patterns arise. So day 7 was the stipulation day on the forensics, right? And here's a great teaching moment on the facts. They weren't disputed. Because remember what Big Red said in the beginning of day 1 trial. In September, there was a breakdown in this relationship. Remember that from the beginning. in September of 2022, 3 months. Is it September, October, November, December, January? Almost 4 months prior, there was a breakdown in this family's relationship. So we're on day 7, and they begin talking about the nanny problem. Has anybody seen day 7? They talk about the nanny problem, right? And Lindsay wasn't doing that great for day 7. She wasn't doing that great in day 7 on trial. You could tell her whole demeanor changes. Okay. And this is when the judge comes on and says, we have got to have some stipulations in place.
Submit 4 stipulations the parties have entered into.
They stipulate DNA. Okay. Because there was nothing, no DNA of hers found on the exercise bands that were said to strangle her children. And we know that exercise bands can't physically move on their own, but none of her DNA was on them.
The first being a stipulation regarding DNA known standard samples. The second being a stipulation regarding DNA evidence for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain on the basement floor. The third being the stipulation regarding DNA evidence for the yellow exercise band and the black exercise band. And the fourth being a stipulation regarding DNA comparisons for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain in the basement.
That's right. We don't need to have all those witnesses. All right. So
they stipulated, they agreed. And can I replay mouthing? I got a commercial. I am so sorry you got that commercial. Hold on. I will go back and play it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. That was day 6 right before. And let me see if I bookmarked it. Yes, I did. Okay, here it is. I will drop it also. This is on the Tickety Talk. So I will drop it for you right here. And this is the video yet again. Here we go. I think she said he did it. He did it. I was innocent. And look at her. Look at her demeanor. Okay, so I dropped it if you guys want to go see that too. So let's get back to the DNA stipulation. So they basically say for day 7, we're going to stipulate on DNA. They don't want the jury to hear this, in my humble opinion. And the DNA testimony, the expert comes up and basically shares this.
My name is Katarina Stashin. My first name is spelled Katarina. Last name is spelled Stasshyn.
And can you describe?
And yes, Dina, who had time to clean up and wipe down the exercise bands? Who had the time? And how long was she laying out there in the cold? And how and what was her mechanism of a first fall injury? These are things that just boggle my mind. Why were they not asked? Why were they not explained? And I hope it's coming on Monday, because I hope it's coming with the doctors and the defense, because the prosecution is still running the show right now. Mr. Clean, right? Who was Mr. Clean that day? Just like in the Idaho 4 case, who cleaned up all the blood?
What's your educational background?
I have a bachelor's and master's degree in biotechnology from the University of Nevada, Reno.
And what is your occupation?
I'm currently employed by the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Forensic Science Division, which is located in Reno, Nevada. I'm a criminalist in the biology and forensic investigation sections.
Back in January of 2023.
Are you all seeing a pattern?
Where were you working?
I previously worked for the Massachusetts State Police Crime Laboratory as a forensic scientist in
How convenient.
the DNA unit, which is functionally the same role that I currently have in the biology section.
Now, wouldn't this be a conflict of freaking interest? In my humble opinion, I would say yes.
And
And
I'm sorry, we agreed to the DNA. I'm just letting you know that.
Okay, all right.
and I'm just
Respect.
giving that evidence to the
Go
jury.
Go ahead.
So when did you start working for the state police?
I worked for the Massachusetts State Police from June 2021 to February of 2025.
And what was the nature of your work for the lab at that time?
As a DNA analyst, I processed evidence items obtained either from a crime scene or from an individual associated with a criminal investigation. These items of evidence would be processed through the laboratory. I then would perform interpretations, comparisons as needed, write reports. I also could perform administrative reviews of other analysts' work and provide expert witness testimony as needed.
And part of your employment at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, did you take competency tests and proficiency tests to guarantee that you were capable and proficient in the areas you were working?
Yes, I took both competency tests after my training and proficiency tests throughout my career at Massachusetts and at my current role.
And have you passed all of those tests?
Yes, I have passed all competency and proficiency tests that I've taken so far in my career.
Can you tell us what is DNA?
DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and this is genetic information that is stored in our cells. This is information that makes us who we are, determines how we develop and grow. A person's DNA is inherited approximately half from their mom and half from their dad. DNA is forensically relevant because it is expected that no two individuals will have the same forensic DNA profile.
And is DNA the same in every single cell in a person's body?
Yes, the DNA profile obtained from different cells, different cell types like a blood cell or from a saliva cell or cell in your saliva would have the same DNA profile, barring your mutation.
And can you explain generally the process used to analyze evidence, in this case, the testing involving the defendant, Lindsay Clancy?
The items tested in this case and in all cases will go through a 4-step laboratory process of extraction, quantification, amplification, and detection. And then profiles developed from that laboratory process will be interpreted and compared.
Can you just briefly explain what is extraction and how it's done?
Extraction is the first step of that laboratory process that involves applying a variation of heat and chemicals to a sample. This breaks open cells that are present and releases the DNA and then isolates that DNA.
And
and this is pretty standard. So this was day 7 of trial. And Lulubelle asked a great question. Was he any type of fraternity background? Now, there was none that I found, but he is a strong, devoted Jesuit Catholic, right? Let me just take a look at this. I put this in my folder, and this was a little bit of the background that I found on him. He was told he grew up in a large Catholic family, and he got a business degree from University in Newport. Let me just take a look at this. I didn't find anything else about him. Let me just look at this biography. Someone did a really good biography back in July, early July, before this case started. And I don't see anything about any type of publicly known fraternities, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a deep dive research, a private search, and I'm going to see if I can find anything in relation to this. There is nothing known publicly, and he's worked for Microsoft for a very long time. I did share in my own personal group that that he did have a business that he started that year, and it was dissolved very quickly in his expertise and his background in consulting. Okay. So let's stick at we'll do a deep dive. I'll do a really strong deep dive, but I want to stay because we've got 6 more days to catch up on. So on day 7, they talked about the nanny problem. And they explored Lindsay's detailed child care instructions and basically portrayed her as controlling behavior, or maybe just a too attentive parent to 3 children. It doesn't prove anything pathological, nothing. So I don't even know why the prosecution even brought that up, but it was glossed over. Now we're into day 8. Okay, day 8 is more into the healthcare system, becomes part of this trial. Now that is exactly, the prosecution is still, putting on their side of the events. But in my humble opinion, this is going to be saved for more than just the medical side to this, right? At this point, this becomes very clear that the trial stops being about what happened that day, okay? Now they go on to providers, medications, symptoms, sleep, hospitalization, anxiety. And this is what the prosecution is trying to say, that they do not believe that she was, they believe she was normal, that this didn't exist. And who is the prosecution to make that medical diagnosis? Right? I know what I'm thinking about too. But who has the right on day 8 to say this? Because I want you to think about this. Day 8 was pretty strategic, because not only on day 8 did they try to put the medical the focus, all right, but they bring in Patrick's friend. Did you guys watch day 8? Anybody? I'm going to do a real quick recap. Patrick's friend testifies. Okay? And listen to what he says.
You live in?
Duxbury.
What do you do for work?
Work in finance.
And are you married?
Yes.
Who's your wife?
Sarah Carney.
And you have children?
Yes.
Does your family, or did your family know the Clancy family?
Yes.
And did you know them through your friendship with Patrick Clancy?
Yes.
When did you meet Patrick Clancy?
2009.
And how did you meet?
We went to college together.
And after going through college together, did you remain friends after school?
Yes.
And eventually, did you end up living in Duxbury at the same time Patrick and his family lived in Duxbury?
Yes.
When did you meet Lindsay Clancy?
Maybe 12 years ago.
Did you meet them before they were married? Did you meet Lindsay before she married Patrick?
Yes.
Okay. And then obviously you knew them after they got married and as they had their children.
Yes.
How often would you see Patrick and his family while you were both living in Duxbury?
Maybe every other month.
And would you interact with Lindsay Clancy during those gatherings?
Yes.
And what was her typical demeanor?
Kind, caring.
Did you ever see any changes, significant changes in her behavior or demeanor when you would interact with her?
No.
And what town do you live in?
Duxbury.
Okay. That was, yeah. Doesn't it look like him? Is that the guy at CVS, folks? And that's not Patrick at CVS? Skeptical, because it does look like that could float for him on video cam. And you know how bad these video cams are out there, especially CVS cam, right? Didn't the CK trial have a lookalike too? He almost looks like Patrick. Yes. All right, you're seeing patterns. Here's the nanny for those saying, do you think he was banging the nanny? I don't think so, but you never know.
You come to find out that Lindsay was having some issues.
I did.
Did she talk to you about that?
She did.
And what did she tell you about her issues?
She shared with me that she was suffering from postpartum.
Now, when she shared this information with you, had you noticed anything different about her demeanor or her presentation around the house?
I didn't at all.
Did you have the occasion to observe her interacting with the children?
I did.
And did you have any concerns about her interacting with the children?
None at all. She was a wonderful mom.
What did you observe about her as a mother interacting with her kids?
I observed a wonderful mom who loved her kids, she was very concerned with their safety. She was very concerned with Callan's eating and sleeping. She was a wonderful mother.
Did you?
Do I love Lindsay?
Yeah.
I did love Lindsay, yes.
Did you?
Okay, so there you go. She was a wonderful mother. And then let's go back to Patrick's friend. This is the continuation.
Did you meet Lindsay Clancy?
Maybe 12 years ago.
Did you meet them before they were married? Did you meet Lindsay before she married Patrick?
Yes.
Okay. And then obviously you knew them after they got married and as they had their children.
Yes.
How often would you see Patrick and his family while you were both living in Duxbury?
Maybe every other month.
And would you interact with Lindsay Clancy during those gatherings?
Yes.
And what was her typical demeanor?
Kind, caring.
Did you ever see any changes, significant changes in her behavior or demeanor when you would interact with her?
No.
Did you notice any changes in Lindsay Clancy after the birth of Cora or Dawson?
No.
Directing your attention to after Callan Clancy was born, did you interact with the Clancy family that summer?
Yes.
And how so?
Maybe beach dinners. It's hard to recall exactly.
So you said beach dinners, is that what you said?
Yes.
So basically families gathering together at the beach, having dinner, interacting with each other, is that right?
Sure.
How often would you do that during the summer of 2022?
I couldn't tell you exactly.
More than once?
Yeah, like at least monthly.
Okay. Did you also go fishing with Patrick during that time?
Yes.
Over the summer of 2022, did you notice any differences in Lindsay Clancy's demeanor or behavior?
No.
Throughout the fall of 2022 into the beginning of January 2023, would you see Patrick Clancy?
Yes.
How often did you see him?
Again, maybe once a month, maybe.
And directing your attention to Sunday, January 22nd, 2023, did you have a small?
Yes. And I feel like this is some emotional looshing happening in front of our eyes. No talkie before coffee. That feels like the Idaho 4 case. I couldn't imagine as a parent of college-age kids being all four unalived in one house, right? And we see so many opposite things happening. But I feel the same way. I'm starting to see patterns. And these patterns are important to pull under your belt.
Gathering at your home.
He looks like Patrick. Do you think that maybe Lindsay was interested in this guy? These families hang out together a lot.
Yes, their family came over to my house.
Okay. And when you say their family, are you talking about Patrick Clancy and Lindsay Clancy?
And Cora and Dawson, too.
Callan didn't join them?
Dawson.
No.
Was he home with Lindsay's parents?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of gathering that day?
To socialize. It was a nice day out. I was having a fire to burn some brush in my backyard, and thought it'd be nice to invite them to come over and get the kids out and enjoy a nice day.
And what was Lindsay's demeanor that day?
I'd say quieter than normal.
And do you recall saying previously that the weekend was fairly normal, that Lindsay had always been a little tough to get a beat on, kind of quiet, but you were in the kitchen talking and it seemed normal?
I mean, in the kitchen, we had a conversation and that was normal.
Normal, okay. Do you recall describing the day previously as a perfectly normal afternoon, really nice? When did you meet Lindsay Clancy?
Okay.
12 years ago.
Okay.
Did you meet them before they were married? Did you meet Lindsay before?
Okay. So there's a little bit of excerpts from day 8. Now, we've already surpassed day 9. We've talked a little bit about the hospital. Day 10, I think it was really boring, but this is where the psychiatrist on this day gave a shocking freaking statement. Listen to this, folks.
Is it fair to say that either you or other members of the team, either a mental health worker, social worker, or nurse, sometimes reach out to collaterals in order to try to gather information and assess a patient?
Yes.
And in this instance, are you aware that somebody reached out to Patrick Clancy to speak with him about his wife and her care?
Yes.
And that he felt that she had succumbed to social pressure to take psychiatric medications because her friends were taking them?
That's what he told the social worker.
As part of this treatment team plan for...
Can you believe that? Wow. And I don't know why the prosecution is having them state this for the record, because in my humble opinion, it only shows reasonable doubt that she was not in any type of psychosis. All right. Because this is what the prosecution has to prove. This is what they have to prove. Okay. Now, I was shocked when they said that. That was day 10. So day 10 is the whole disconnected. And then Lindsay on day 10 says this in trial. You know, you're not supposed to speak in trial, but she says this openly.
What about injuries?
She's in the courtroom and she basically says, I can't do this.
And what about injuries?
All right, counsel could.
And they break.
What?
And she breaks down by day 10.
We're going to take a break this time, all right?
All right. Sure, close your notebooks. Place them on the chairs, please. This way, please.
Why are they torturing her to go through this heated court battle, folks? Why would they be publicly humiliating her? Why? Why couldn't they just take a plea deal? Why did they have to go to trial? Now, I've seen some trials that end in the jury says not guilty. Why are they publicly putting this out in the open? That is when I really started talking about this case. These are some very important women issues we need to talk about. Something is totally disconnected with this case, because not only did the psychiatrist, Dr. Jennifer Tufts, talk about that she did not observe psychosis, Lindsay was depressed, hopeless, insomnia. Bonding with Callan, the youngest, became increasingly important. She was a nurse. She cared for others. And so we move on to day 11. We're almost there, folks. You have hung in so far. Day 11 was the disconnect. Day 11 was the disconnect. And what do I mean? The disconnect, numb, out of it, hopeless, anxious, sleep deprived. And what was she going through for 4 months? 4 months. Was she really in some psychiatric distress? Was it becoming something more serious? Why did her husband not take action to protect this family? Why did he not seek help, better help for his wife and children? Is Lindsay all to blame for what happened to this family? Drop a 1 if you think that he is partly responsible. And why is she? Because at the end of this, if the jury says, yes, she's criminally responsible, they're not going to put her in prison, guys. They're going to put her in a psychiatric hospital for the rest of her life. No husband, no kids, nothing. Nothing. He should be somewhat accountable. And how is he getting the best end of the deal? How? That is disconnected in my mind. That was day 11. And when the expert got up on the stand to testify, day 11 was outrageous because this is McLean Hospital. A TikToker, guys, a TikToker gave a whole statement about, I work there, I know X, Y, and Z, and they call her to testify during the middle of this trial. She worked there. She has some experience. And this is what the judge said about this TikToker. Let me show you the video first. How about if I do that? Emily made an awesome video, and you know how I dig into the weeds. I seen this video and I was like, wow, she needs to be at trial. Okay? This is the Massachusetts social worker that worked at the McLean inpatient unit. And she makes a video that goes viral. And Reddington calls her and says, I need you to come and testify for the defense. Let's listen to what she says. It's long. It's a 10-minute video. I'm going to drop it in the link. But basically, she tells in this video that, hey, guys, I work there. What they're saying isn't true. The prosecution is saying lies.
Social worker, and I also worked on the exact inpatient unit at McLean for nearly 8 years that Lindsay Clancy was a patient at. Very important, I was not there when she was there, but I literally worked there for 8 years. We need to correct the misinformation that this prosecutor is saying about McLean and what the stay there is like. So I'm going to break down everything for you and tell you the truth. Let's preface this with identifying what the prosecutor's approach is with the McLean stay in particular. The prosecution
Okay, so she gets in and she breaks it all down. Every single thing the prosecution has said in jury, to the jury. Okay, she breaks it all down. And this is what happened. And this is what the judge says about this additional witnesses is going to come and testify.
Been issued on this case. And for some of the media and the individuals who've been here for the last couple of weeks, I'm sure are familiar with it. But I know there's a constant people coming in and out. So I just want to remind everyone that there is a specific media order that's been issued on this case, and everybody is presumed to have reviewed it and agreed to it. So if there are any violations or problems with that, we'll have to deal with it. But I just kind of wanted to remind everybody, especially people who may have just come into the courtroom recently. So if you have any questions about what that order is, you can speak to any of the court officers. They have a copy of it. We can get a copy of it to everybody who needs to see it and review it. All right. And with that, what we'll do is we're going to go, the defendant, had filed a motion for addition to the witness list, to add to the witness list regarding Ms. Thorndike. So what I'm going to do first, I'll hear from the defendant. Then I'll hear from the Commonwealth.
Thank you.
Mr. Reddington.
Thank you. Your Honor, basically, as the motion speaks for itself, there is a woman, her name is Emily Thorndike, who's a LACSW here in Massachusetts. She owns and is an independent operator of her own clinical social work establishment called Wise Mind Therapy. Your Honor has her resume. She graduated from Dover-Sherburne High School, received the Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from Hartwick College, Master's degree from BC, 2019, is licensed in Massachusetts. And interestingly enough, she did work at the McLean Hospital in the very short-term unit that the doctor was testifying that Lindsay was in for 5 days in January of 22 into 23. She worked for 5 years as a mental health specialist from May of 2014 to May of 2019. She was a clinical social worker manager of that unit from 2019, 2021. So she's basically got about 7 years and 7 months of experience working in that unit for majority of that period of time, full-time employee, and then for 1 year as a supervisor. She left, as the court is aware from the motion. I vetted her out. I obviously would be concerned if there's any so-called axe to grind, if you will, any lawsuits pending. Were you fired? Did you have any difficulties? Any claims for harassment, hostile workplace? Absolutely nothing. She has friends that are still employees that still work at McLean. And I do not know this woman. I have literally never met her. Her involvement in this case came about after one of the prosecutors, I don't recall which, made it out on direct examination that McLean is some kind of a 5-star institution where the doctors.
Okay, so this video is very long. In a nutshell, I'm just going to go highlight. I'm going to drop the link. You can go and check it out because this brings us to day 12. Okay, folks, day 12. I bookmarked a really important one that I just want to throw a wind of caution here. Day 12. And this user, I don't know if it's a real person. It looks like somebody copied this video. And I don't know. I looked everywhere to find out who this person is. Prosecutors are playing chess while Lindsay Clancy's attorney plays. The prosecutors play checkers while Lindsay Clancy's attorneys are playing chess. Folks, this is the day of the autopsies.
The more I watched the Lindsay Clancy trial, the more I'm realizing that the Commonwealth is playing checkers while her attorney, Kevin Reddington, is playing chess. Now, let me give you a couple examples. So this is going to be your day 12 recap, okay? And there are a few instances where, remember, this is still the prosecution's case. They have not rested, but Kevin.
And this, my friends, is probably the most difficult case. You can go and watch that, but this was the recap for day 12.
What about injuries?
All right, Counsel.
That was probably the most telling day in court, the most difficult day when they went through every single child's methodology of death. We don't need to display any autopsy photographs. We can only acknowledge what jurors had to see without reproducing it, right? The deaths were all medically attributed to asphyxia. They were all strangled. The defense did not meaningfully contest the basic medical evidence. They didn't. But I want to shift the subject here. They're telling us something important about trial strategy. The defense isn't primarily fighting what happened. It is fighting over why it happened and Lindsay's mental state when it happened. And that was the social worker's question, right? Testimony addressed Lindsay's reporting emotional numbness and passive suicidal thinking without a specific plan. And that's what was noted in her records. Now, let me ask you, you all are astute here in the nest. How should clinical providers evaluate risk when someone expresses a desire not to exist but denies an active plan? It's much larger than we even think here, folks. And this is a larger, sensitive, maternal, mental health conversation worth having carefully. The most sensitive ever. And this is very important. Mass is a commonwealth. Pennsylvania is too, and I believe that means the state constitution is not fully following the state's constitutional law. Dive into that. Why is it different in these states? Day 12 was very hard to grasp for everyone in this courtroom. Oh, thank you, Ginger. I appreciate you, girl. Love that picture. I love your hair. Now, day 13 brings us up to speed. Day 14 will be Monday. I will be following this. I'll even have a live. I'll have a live to discuss day 14. We don't know what's going to happen, but day 13 left us some bomb freaking fireballs. Now, here we reach one of the most interesting days. Investigators talked about Lindsay's devices. Jurors heard evidence concerning searches involving psychosis, hallucinations, suicide, medications, and whether a sociopath could be treated. Now, Lindsay's a nurse. They go through this during nursing classes. Okay? Only people search for this that don't know. I'd hate for somebody to go and look through my research as a true crime content creator that looks for facts and evidence. Okay? They heard deep personal diary notes describing Lindsay's feelings about parenting. But remember day 2? Remember the suicide method webpage associated with Patrick's computer that came back? Remember Tom Hall? Does everybody remember that? Drop a 1 if you do. This creates a fantastic digital forensics lesson here, folks. The URL appearing in the browser history of Patrick does not automatically tell you why someone reached that page or even who necessarily clicked every link. That matters. And I add this to my digital evidence board. I always have a digital evidence board when I talk about a case. Because this is what was not asked in court. For every search, ask who, when, what device, whose account, did they type it out, or was it a link that systematically came up with AI? How long were they on this page? What time? Did it become before it or after it? That's how we stop treating browser history like a freaking confession. Someone could have access to my computer. I don't allow anyone access on mine. None. I will state that for the record. No one has the password to any of my devices. Well, my phone, my husband. But no one has any other passwords or codes to none of my laptops, my tablets, my computers, nothing. Because that is solely mine. I will always take accountability and responsibility for my own computers. Did Lindsay go into his computer? Did she trust him? Did she trust him? Because we have to stop treating browser history like a confession. Because if that's the case, when they brought up this whole Tom Hall thing on day 2, well, I think that's when people started to get the inkling in their bones that maybe there was more to Patrick's search than meets the eye.
He's a musical artist.
He's a what artist?
Like a country artist.
Country. Is he like a guitar playing guy or singer?
Yeah, was.
When you say was, what happened to him?
He committed suicide.
And I'm going to show you, sir, your Surface Pro records back in August of 22. you recall Googling the name Tom Hall so you could access one of his new albums or new records?
I do remember briefly listening to Tom Hall's music.
Now, you've never seen that.
Did y'all catch how we avoided that question? Listen to his statement.
Briefly listening to Tom Hall's music.
Listen to the question yet again.
Tom Hall so you could access one of his new albums or new records.
I do remember briefly listening to Tom Hall's music.
Now, you've never seen, you haven't seen this document before, correct?
Correct.
Right, and this would be, I'm sure you're probably familiar with it. When you get a
And here's my question. If the prosecution already know that he searched this, why was he not brought up on criminal charges? Remember here, we ask the unthinkable questions, folks. This is day 12, the hardest testimony ever. Day 13, the digital footprint. The most Tom Hall problem here. Remember, someone can research a page through Google, Wikipedia, through another link, accidentally or deliberately. Remember my digital rule here. Never, ever ask. Not never, ever ask. It's not scary or frightening to search a URL and stop there. Okay? How did the user get there? That's digital forensics. Where are they to show that this wasn't even Lindsay? We're probably going to see that soon. When the defense puts its case on, this is going to be a showdown in history for the defense to stand up for Lindsay's constitutional rights. And I think that there's probably about 10 questions that deserve a lot of attention in this case. I'll review those on Monday, 100%. And for those of you that are wondering, I do have a graph that I made of the highlights so that everybody can screenshot this in case they need to go back for reference, because I believe in knowledge. I believe in sharing knowledge so everybody's on the same page, because comes Monday. When Mondays comes, you're going to want this. All right. Here we have all the way up to day 13. The digital evidence was 13. They're going to continue on. I don't know what they're going to talk about on Monday. So here's what's on my board. I make a digital board. I want to know August, September, October, November, because I'm sure the prosecution is going to share that in the defense. What happened in August of 2022? What happened in September? What happened to this family in October, November, and December? Okay, January. And I put symptoms, medication, sleep providers, searches, behavioral, family observations. I'm sure they're going to put this in there. Now, we're going to do something different. We don't argue here. We reconstruct and look at the evidence wherever it takes us. So we've buckled down to day 13. I'm not ready to tell you what the jury should decide because I'm not on this jury. And they shouldn't be ready either because we have not heard the prosecutor finish. They have not rested. The defense still hasn't prosecuted its case, right? They haven't completed this. I don't know how much longer this case is going to go. And experts still have to get up on the stand. But I'm going to leave you with one question. Let me ask you right here. Do you like Lindsay at this point? Yes or no? Drop it below. This is going to be an important question for women. Wouldn't HIPAA prevent that search? Ooh, that's a good one. I don't think so in a trial like this. Because they are under oath in a murder trial. And this trial is trying to prove her competence. Is she able to stay in jail or prison for the rest of her life, or does she have to go to a psych ward for the rest of her life? She's the only alive person that they have charged with criminal financial responsibility. Do you like Lindsay? Yes or no? This is just personal. You can drop it below. From what I've learned, yes, I do. There's been a lot of people on the prosecution side to say, hey, she was a good mother, even her own husband. I do feel for her as a woman. I feel that they may have labeled her with something that is protecting Patrick or what really went on in that house that night, early afternoon. But here's a harder question. Do you forgive Lindsay? Do you forgive her? Yes or no? Obviously, she was a good mother, and that's not legal questions. I'm going to keep watching this case closely. And we're not trying to diminish Cora, Dawson, or Callan's death. Those children matter more than any viral headline. Any viral headline. We'll continue to follow the evidence wherever it leads us. Maybe the answer's in the trajectory. Maybe no single piece tells us. And there's more, obviously. I still hope that she will take the stand. I still hope that they will give her some grace. I hope the jury sees through. We're not done asking questions. I do feel for her. And here's an answer. I'm not an expert, but Paula says HIPAA only applies to the patient and the medical provider that is transmitting information to an insurance company or a referred provider. That is very true. When you sign those forms, that's what exactly it says. I love Lindsay, says Nora. How many of you women? Drop a 1 if you can relate to Lindsay. I asked you earlier in the beginning, where do you feel on that? Do you still feel that you can relate? After everything I've showed you, all the highlights for 13 days, I am going to be watching day 14 like a hawk. Lindsay just realized she isn't guilty. I don't think she caused any harm to her children at this point. No talkie before coffee. I am not here to sway your votes. I am not here to get your opinion to agree with me. I am here to encourage you to think for yourself, to ask those unthinkable questions. Why this matters? This is a case that while we examine the evidence with critical eyes here, let's never forget the heart of this case, and that is Cora, 5, Dawson, I think 2, and Callan, 8 months. Those 3 beautiful children's lives matter. All of them. All my sources were Court TV, NBC Boston, Boston Globe, CBS, Newsweek, Law and Crime Network. Thank you to those that share this live trial. In this summary of a public courtroom coverage and reporting to day 13 is testimony. This is ongoing. And either it's PPP or it's not. It's very rare but serious. Yes, and that's a great point, Paula. How did her thyroid get crushed? I think there's reasonable doubt that her husband did this. And I think it's a 2-approached prong, killing 2 birds with 1 stone, to say that the defense may be doing what defensing is all about. And that is showing the simple fact that maybe she's not responsible at all. Has anybody thought about that one? Ladies and gents, I hope that you have enjoyed this, whether you're downloading it, replaying it, listening to it later. I hope that I have recapped 13 days that I have seen with my own 2 eyes every single day. I've got a whole notebook of notes and things that I have not even talked about yet. Come 14, we are going to have a discussion. We're going to have a discussion. I think this needs to be a topic for women. And I hope that you'll join me. You all have a fantastic day. I hope that you will all enjoy the little music that I have made for this stream. And I do hope and pray that if you know of a mom in struggle, that you will definitely reach out to give them help. That's what we do here. We're a community of loving supporters and caregivers. You are so welcome, Private Gemini. Have a great day. Go touch grass. Love your loved ones. Give some hugs for that oxytocin. And remember, you know the drill. Be well.
Heavy to be told. You think you're stranded on an island far from shore, with rising tides around your feet. You fought so long you can't remember what it's for, just a bitter taste of your defeat. Hey, just breathe. Don't say a word. I'm right here in the quiet that you've earned. Feels too heavy to be told. You think you're stranded on an island far from shore, with rising tides around your feet. You fought so long you can't remember what it's for, just a bitter taste of your defeat. Hey, just breathe. Don't say a word. I'm right here in the quiet that you've earned.